So my garden has been producing far more peppers than I can use. Like that's a quarter of what I've gotten out of the garden so far this year. So I'm gonna make pepper powder with it. The basic idea is we're gonna end up with our peppers preserved, dehydrated, or not, yeah, dehydrated, as powder, and then put it in a salt shaker to make salt and pepper a whole lot spicier than it was, and pretty much everything else. What you need to do this is dehydrator, cutting board, knife, pick your favorite knife, obviously a can or salt shaker to put the powders, and this is kind of the oddball thing, a coffee grinder. A little weird. And obviously peppers. So let's get cutting. What I'm just going to do, some of these have been sitting out for a while, they got harvested previously, is anything that looks bad I'm obviously throwing out, but you just cut the ends off the peppers and put them on the dehydrator racks. So like that end just gets cut off and you can compost them later. Any peppers that look questionable, like you're just not sure there might be some rot on it, don't throw them in, just trash them. Obviously I've got more peppers than I know what to do with, so I really don't care if I lose a few. If your peppers aren't super fresh, there is a small chance that they've started rotting before you got them into the dehydrator. So I'm just cutting off the ends and sticking them in there. There's that. Like there's an example of something that looks a little questionable. Like it's got some black on the end. Just gonna cut the end off it. Yeah, it looks fine. And now I'm going to cut a ton of these. Okay, so we have a full dehydrator. And you can see it from the side. So now, put the lid on. This dehydrator has temperature controls. Unfortunately, not on the side. I can easily show you. We're set about 120 degrees though. So, I'm gonna let this run for probably about 2 days. And check back in on it periodically to see how it's doing. Okay, and almost 24 hours later, you can see these are still not crunchy. And fold that in half in my hand. These should, when you're done, you want those to be rigid. Like this one, that's probably good. Almost, I can feel it flex a little in my fingers. So we're gonna let this go for another day. Okay, it's been somewhere around 36 hours, and most of these, as you can see, that's nice and rigid. That's not a good problem. On the other hand, some of these, like that one, are still kind of soft. I mean, you can see the end there. I can bend that and it's not cracking. So, we're just gonna let these keep dehydrating. And it smells amazing in here. Okay, so it's been about 2 days and most of my peppers are crispy. You want them to the point where they just snap in your fingers. So, we're going to turn this off. And load these into a coffee grinder. And as I'm doing this, I'm kind of checking the peppers, make sure they're all really dry. You can just feel in your hands if they're rigid or not. You don't want anything that's not rigid, like that one was. That's about full. So put the lid on it, plugged in. That's about powder. I'll use a little more. I'm gonna go get another jar. Okay. I'm just putting this in a different jar so we can see what the total volume is out of that. Just to make it easier to pour. Putting little whatever that is. Now, when you open this up and dump it out, there will be a lot of pepper powder. Some of it gets aerosolized. You could wear a mask to keep that out of your face, or you could just be a man. And I'm going to do this in batches so I don't get that too hot. And we had a camera malfunction. So just to show you the end result, grab that one. We ended up with a jar about like this. It's a little clumpy, but it's okay. And if you are doing a lot of this stuff, these lids, the screw top lids from Ball are wonderful. Highly recommend getting some of those, because that way I can just like take a jar of salsa, switch out the lid when I put it in the fridge after cracking it open, and it just makes life easier. Anyways, that's how you make pepper powder.